You good? Everybody's ready? All right. Good evening. I'm Robert Conti, Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department here in Washington, D.C. I'm here to report regarding an officer-involved shooting that we've had this evening in the 1400 block of V Street Northwest. Just before 7 o'clock p.m., members of the Metropolitan Police Department's 3rd District officers, as well as officers from our Community-Focused Patrol Unit, responded to this location because there was a call from a citizen who reported to the Metropolitan Police Department that there was an individual on the balcony with a long gun. Our officers responded. They engaged that citizen. They were directed to an apartment that was in a building adjacent to the call where the initial, they were in a building adjacent to where the initial call was placed from. As they identified the apartment, they went to that apartment, they knocked on the door, they engaged the individual multiple times. The individual came out of the apartment, talked to the officers initially. The officers attempted to de-escalate the situation, had multiple conversations with this individual. As the individual went back and forth within the apartment, the last time the individual emerged from the unit, he was carrying a long gun. That image of that long gun it's out on our social media at this time. Officers fired, at least one officer fired shots. That individual was struck. He was taken to an area hospital. He has since been pronounced. We have another officer who also suffered a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. He has been taken to an area hospital where he is currently seeking treatment. I want to thank the public for calling this information in to the Metropolitan Police Department. It's unfortunate, obviously, anytime we have to use force in any situation. Our officers made an attempt at de-escalation. In addition to de-escalation tactics, these officers also rendered life-saving efforts to the individual after the shots were fired. This is very preliminary stages of the investigation. Obviously, more will come out. We'll be working really around the clock now to get this video out to the public consistent with the mayor's order. We'll be talking with the mayor about this as well to make sure that we go through the proper channels in an effort to get this out to the public. Thank you. At this time, we have no further information.
You're not taking questions at all?
If you have a question, there's very limited information, but if you have a question,
does it appear, Chief, that this was an air rifle, the gun that the suspect had?
It appears it's possible. If you look at the weapon on the social media, that's not the condition that it was in when it was displayed to the officers. This weapon, it looks very real. It appears to be some type of airsoft or perhaps a paint gun. I'm not sure exactly. That will be determined after they continue the examination of the weapon.
So the officer's gunshot wound, so his gunshot wound, did it come from that weapon or from a...
We don't know exactly where it came from.
Chief, did the suspect live in that apartment? And number one, and was he alone?
It appears he lives in the apartment, and he was also alone. We attempted to we cleared the apartment after the shots were fired to make sure that there was no one else inside the apartment, and there was no one else inside.
Did it appear that he was perhaps, I know you're not a psychiatrist, but perhaps he was having a medical emergency of some sort?
We don't know. We don't know exactly what the issue was. Obviously, this is very early stages of the investigation, and I'm sure we'll learn more as time goes on.
Hey, Dr. Thomas, ASC Commissioner.
Yes, ma'am.
As you say, the other ASC Commissioner, we boarded both blocks. I'm at 14th and W 40 plus years. My question is that when incidents such as this gentleman has been, police has been called on several times. They have mental illness issues. So when officers come out or are called, is there some link between the time that they arrest this person, take them in for mental evaluation, and then release them? What's the process?
So normally what would happen, that information would be relayed to us if known. I'm not sure at what point this person, when the last time he was arrested by the police department, but if we have that information, generally we like to know that so that we know what we're actually getting into. I can assure you from what I've seen, the officers' intent was to try to really bring this situation down, to de-escalate it so that there would not be a use of force. Unfortunately, again, when the the individual emerged, he was holding this long gun, and it resulted in the use of force.
Chief, did he point the gun at the officer?
Yes, it was pointed at several officers that were standing there.
Chief, in other news, there seems to be a child who was shot, Stanton and Pomeroy, southeast.
Yeah, I've just heard about the possible situation there, so I'm going to wrap this press conference up, and I'll be heading over there to find out what else has happened. All right, thank you so much.
One last question. Just last month, we had another shooting just down the block. For concerned residents, what do you have to say to them right now? Another shooting a month later.
Yeah. Well, this situation obviously is not the same as the situation that we had down there. The Metropolitan Police Department remains committed to public safety and removing illegal firearms off our street, wherever they may be. If it happens to be on the street, if it's in the home, we are committed to that. Officers are putting their lives on the line every day to recover illegal firearms off our streets. So far this year, in the Metropolitan, within Washington, D.C., the Metropolitan Police Department has recovered over 1,400 illegal firearms in our streets. And it's unfortunate, it's very unfortunate. We're no different than any other major city where we're seeing upticks in violence, specifically gun violence. But again, I think it's a testament to some of the dangers that our officers and community members, quite frankly, have to face when we are confronted with individuals, armed individuals in community. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Yeah.
They've been out here several times for the same.
Did they come all? And even neighbors said, and the next guys were being down, and I called my dad.